A room, a secret, and a silver bracelet. Ethan pressed the handwritten sign against the cold glass of his front window and stepped back to look at it. Room for rent, $400 month. Utilities included, no parties. Simple words, desperate words. He had written them with a black marker at the kitchen table, while his 7-year-old daughter Lily slept in the next room, unaware that her father had exactly $63 left in his bank account and a stack of bills that kept growing no matter how many extra shifts he picked up at the hardware store. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? He had been a single dad for 3 years now, ever since his wife Sarah walked out without so much as a note on the refrigerator. He did not hate her for it anymore. He had stopped hating people when he realized that hate was a luxury he could not afford. What he could afford, barely, was this small house on Maple Street, a second-hand bicycle for Lily, and now, if someone responded to that sign, a little breathing room. He went to bed that night telling himself it would be fine. He almost believed it. The next morning, a girl stood at his door. She was young, maybe 20 or 21, wearing a plain gray hoodie and carrying a single duffel bag over one shoulder. Her hair was pulled back loosely and she had eyes that looked older than the rest of her face, like she had seen things she was still sorting through. She said her name was Anna. She said she was a college student studying business. She said she was quiet, clean, and would never be a problem. Ethan looked at her, then at the duffel bag, then back at her. "You got references?" he asked. She gave him a name and a number. He called it that evening. A man with a formal voice confirmed that Anna was a responsible and trustworthy person. Ethan handed her the key. What he noticed first in the days that followed was how carefully she moved through the house. Not nervously, carefully, like someone who had been taught to take up as little space as possible, or like someone who had chosen to. She left no dishes in the sink. She said good morning to Lily every day and always remembered that Lily liked her toast without butter. She paid her rent in cash. 4 crisp $100 bills slid under his bedroom door on the first of every month like clockwork. She was, as promised, no trouble at all. But Ethan noticed things. He noticed the silver bracelet she always wore on her left wrist, delicate and engraved with letters he could not read from a distance. He noticed that she never talked about her family. He noticed that sometimes a black car with tinted windows would park across the street for 20 minutes and then quietly leave. He told himself he was being paranoid. He had been alone for 3 years and had forgotten what it meant to simply share a house with another adult. He was reading too much into nothing. Then came the Tuesday night that changed everything. Lily had a fever, and Ethan was up past midnight, moving between her room and the kitchen for water and medicine. He passed the hallway and saw the thin strip of light under Anna's door. That was not unusual. What was unusual was the sound, not music, not studying, but the quiet clicking of a keyboard moving very fast, and underneath it, the low hum of something Ethan could only describe as tension. He stood in the hallway for a moment, told himself it was none of his business, and went back to Lily. But at 2 a.m, when he came out for more water, Anna's door was open just slightly and he could see her at his old borrowed laptop, the screen casting blue light across her face. She was focused in a way that made his chest tighten without knowing why. And then he saw it. A small red USB drive plugged into the side of the laptop. He went back to bed. He lay there staring at the ceiling. He told himself there were 100 innocent explanations. He believed none of them. By morning he had made a decision. Not to confront her, not to call the police, but to be honest. He waited until Lily left for school and then sat down at the kitchen table with 2 cups of coffee and waited. Anna came down at 8, saw the cups and stopped walking. She looked at him and something shifted behind her eyes. Not guilt, but recognition, like she had been waiting for this moment too. "Sit down," Ethan said quietly. She sat. He slid 1 cup toward her. "I saw the USB drive last night," he said. He did not say it like an accusation. He said it like a man who was tired of not knowing the truth. Anna wrapped both hands around the coffee cup. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she said, "My father is Richard Hale." Ethan knew the name. Everyone knew the name. Richard Hale was a billionaire, a man whose face appeared on the covers of business magazines, whose company employed thousands of people, whose name was attached to hospitals and scholarships and foundations. "The drive contains financial records," Anna said. "Documents that prove my father has been laundering money through his charitable foundations for 11 years. Funds that were supposed to go to schools in underfunded communities. They never arrived." She looked up at Ethan. "I have been trying to get this information to the right people without my father finding out it was me. If he finds out, those documents disappear, and so do I." The silence in the kitchen was the loudest thing Ethan had ever heard. He thought about Lily. He thought about the black car that had parked across the street. He thought about the kind of man who steals from schools and calls himself a philanthropist. And then he thought about the girl sitting across from him, who had walked into his house with one duffel bag and a secret heavy enough to bury her. "What do you need?" he asked. Anna looked at him like the question surprised her. "I need 3 more days," she said. "I have a contact at a regulatory agency. Once the files are transferred through a secure channel, it is out of my hands." "Then you have 3 days," Ethan said. He stood up, rinsed his cup, and looked back at her. "And Anna, next time you need the laptop that late, just ask. I would have let you use it." Her eyes filled, but she did not let the tears fall. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. Ethan thought about it honestly. "Because somebody should," he said, and went to get ready for work. 3 days later, the files were transferred. A week after that, a federal investigation was quietly opened into the Hale Foundation. Anna left on a Thursday morning, the same way she had arrived. 1 duffel bag, silver bracelet, no noise. She left an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was 6 months of rent in cash and a note that said, "For Lily's school supplies? For every kid who deserved better. Thank you for opening your door." Ethan read it twice and then folded it carefully and put it in the drawer, where he kept the things that mattered. Sometimes the people who knock on your door are not just looking for a room. Sometimes they are carrying something the world needs. And all they need from you is a kitchen table, a cup of coffee, and someone willing to ask the right question. Ethan was just a single dad trying to keep the lights on. He ended up helping keep a light on for thousands of children he would never meet. That was enough. That was more than enough. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness True Stories, where every story reminds us that ordinary people do extraordinary things every single day. Your support means the world and helps us keep sharing stories that warm the heart and restore faith in humanity. Thank you for being part of this community.